Hi guys, this is Stin, and I am going to call my friend Lincoln, and we're going to do a little video chat. I think, hopefully. Um, oh, there. Oh,
Oh, hello.
hi Lincoln. How
Hey,
are you?
I'm really good.
It's good to
I
see you.
have,
Are you protecting yourself so I don't breathe on
I
you?
was, I went on a morning walk and I have to be responsible in the era of Corona.
Don't you have
Did you
any
know that
fun
Corona
backgrounds for
stopped
us today?
production? Oh, I have fun background. Did you know
I
that
like.
Corona beer stopped production? Nobody buys
Did it
the
really?
beer anymore.
That's my
That's
favorite
so
thing.
sad. I
It's
know.
so not sad. I think
They
it should
should name
stop.
it something else. What?
Wow. Oh,
That's
is
my
that your
daughter.
family?
That's my daughter. She's only 11, but she just measured at 5'9" on the post in Grandpa's basement, and that's husband. How do I get rid
Oh.
of that? Oh, there we go.
I don't think you ever should. I really like that. That brings a relaxation to a whole new level.
That was a
So this
moment
is
on a
Lincoln.
walk on a beach.
Everyone, this is what we're doing. I'm Sten. You may know me from my thought coach or meditation station. And the other day, yeah, so we were talking, Lincoln and I. We've been best friends for probably a million years. He's probably my oldest friend. Yeah. High school days. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Did we make out in
we
high school?
Okay, that is not acceptable right now.
Okay.
We may or may not, but he's totally gay, so there's that. That little,
What is totally gay? Is that more than just a little gay?
yeah, it's totally gay. You're totally gay when you're married and you have a child with your husband. That means
Okay.
you're totally gay. Um, which I'm a fan. So good job, everyone, for finding love in their lives in whatever gender that comes. So but we always talk, right, Link? Like Links and I have just kind of stayed in touch. We've done lots of random things. Um, we just kind of, yeah, he's kind of come in and out of my life forever. And I have, and he lives in Portland and I live in DC. And we've been, yeah, how did we come about this whole idea anyway?
We have just stayed in touch through the changing seasons of our lives, to quote a
Yeah.
Fleetwood Mac song. And we have just been through chapters. I went through a major relationship of many years breakup and moved in with you when I was 31 or 2
Yeah.
and lived in your basement, and we worked on a project together.
Hmm.
And I think that I have known from meeting you that you were always interested in the same types of things that I'm interested in, but from different angles, on just how to be better, to improve, because it's all a journey, and to find peace and happiness through the stuff that life brings. And I always look to you kind of like, it's a weird combo of like mentor, because you've immersed yourself and educated yourself, and friend, who I know on a
Yes.
completely different level.
Yes. I like that. So yeah, we were just talking the other day. We were talking about how fun it would be to just have try this out and discuss a few topics because our discussions are very exciting, and we feel on many levels that everyone would probably really enjoy listening. So let's see if that works out. I was thinking we could introduce each other. I'm going to introduce Lincoln first. So Lincoln's background, he's kind of a unicorn. He's good at a lot of things. He yeah, worked for Bumble and Bumble as a big sales guy, and then became in the a manager and a director of sales. But he was always, and it was about that time that he started to get really interested in all the things that made him even more exciting to talk to, because he was studying emotional intelligence and having um heat sauna rooms in with Deepak Chopra. What was that? Like a sauna? It was like a hot thing, but then someone died, so that's like not super cool to talk about anymore.
Those are
But
mixing stories. But
I know I'm mixing all sorts of stories, but he's yeah. So he worked for Bumble and Bubble, which was great because sometimes I would get product, and then it got me addicted to expensive things, which was really bad. But I loved getting samples of Bumble and Bumble. But he's since progressed, and he is now working on business development for a little band called Pink Martini. his two best friends started it, and he came on board to help them kind of monetize the business, and he's fantastic and amazing. And is there anything else I need to say about how awesome you are?
That's good.
You're just gonna love Lincoln. That's all there is to it. Everyone loves Lincoln. And so we were talking because my kids, anytime I would talk to Lincoln, the kids always want to hear it on speakerphone because they say it's their favorite thing to hear is me and Lincoln talking about things. And so my oldest daughter has been like, why are you not doing a podcast with Lincoln? Because I would listen every single day, which is so sad and so wonderful all at the same time, because she's like, you have the dream life. You have a gay best friend. Everyone secretly wants one. You have one. Record conversations with him because he's so fun. And that is what we've decided to do. So, yeah.
And you are somebody who has had success being a coach, and you have hundreds of millions of downloads. How many downloads do you have?
Oh, a lot. Just,
A
yeah.
lot. On
Like
mythoughtcoach.com and iTunes.
620 million, just a few.
That's leaning toward 1 billion. It's closer to 1 billion than it is 1 million.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
100 million.
Just for my podcast stuff. Can you tell these glasses are to block the blue light?
Yes, I can.
Thanks.
And I want to say that I have always been good at putting my anxiety kind of in a box, or my stress, my work stress or whatever, and just falling asleep, and no problem. And then lately, like in the last 2 years, I have not been able to do that as efficiently and unconsciously as I previously did. And I was like, Stin, can you help me with this? Do you know any anxiety meditations? She's like, yeah, go to my podcast. And I was like, all right. So I was in the bathtub the first time, and I was listening. I had a broken foot and back, and I was kind of in pain and like trying to get it, like, and I was listening. I was like, God, she is really good. Why haven't I been listening to you for the last 15 years? So I don't know what kind of introduction.
It's kind of weird, right? Isn't it weird to hear me on that recording though? Like yeah.
It's not. I thought it would be. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So what are we going to talk about today? Because I think people can really benefit from.
Yeah, I think people might be bored already. Please stay with us. We have very exciting topics that will change your life. So what we've decided is it's coronavirus, right? Like we're like in the middle of it, and everyone's had this great, I think everyone started in shock and then fear. And there's been, thank you, Love, for joining us. Love hat, that is needs its own guest chair because it's so large. But we've been talking like a lot about all of the dynamics that are happening in the world and what's happening with us personally. And especially, so we've kind of thought about a series, maybe a 5-part series of things that we have discussed and that you might discuss with your best friend if you wanted to, and kind of ways and coping strategies of things that we found beneficial. Right? Yeah?
Yeah. The lack of structure is killing me. And I think a lot of people relate to that. I've always thought of myself as someone who thrives in an unstructured environment, and I really like the freedom of that. I'm motivated, I'm organized, and I'm disciplined, and I have not derailed in my life. I have a lot of friends who are in that same category, meaning I've like kept it on the rails, I've moved forward, I'm getting my shit done, my stuff done, and I are we allowed to cuss? I don't know. It's the internet.
Excuse me. Your chair keeps disappearing. Like it's going.
Okay, I'll take it off. I know, because it's
kind of fun.
Background.
I just don't want people to think that you might be living in outer space or on Mars.
It's
there.
if they're watching this on YouTube, then that's their own fault. If you're listening, that's probably the way to go. So coronavirus has like pulled the rug out completely overnight, and it took us. We were like reeling for 2 or 3 weeks. We're entering the 6th week of this, from the just before the middle of March, like the 10th, 11th, 12th, Friday the 13th was when it kicked in for me in Portland, Oregon, and now it's like the middle of April, and we're going into the 6th week. We've got 5 weeks under our belt, and it's like there are so many things that are new. It's all about like change and creating structure. And it's not like, oh, my spin class is at 9 o'clock. I know I have to be out the door at such and such a time, and then I'm at work, and then I have a meeting at noon with the team, and da da da. It's like, oh, I just finished a Zoom with my work. Do I do yoga on the front porch now, or do I do it at 5 p.m.? And like, or would I go like eat just for fun in the kitchen? Like, it's all upended, and I'm
Totally.
a little bit. I would like help to be able to like figure out a way to stay on track. And I think a lot of people are doing it successfully, and a lot of people are like leaning other directions. I'm drinking more wine than I should be, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a good point, because I think that's what I think we started out just freaking out. And now there's kind of like this sense of, all right, well, when this is over, life will start, right? Like we're kind of in this in between, not really knowing what the next step is going to look like. And when you're in between things, it can be exciting and it can be super dangerous. But like it's kind of this place now where we can picture this ending, and we can also imagine having terrible regrets at the end of it. I know that I can. That if I Netflix my way through this entire Corona time, that when it's over and I haven't mastered a language and guitar and all of the goals that I set for myself after like being in panic mode for a week, that I will feel such a huge sense of regret. Plus, yeah, and I feel like I could do better for my kids. I feel like I could do better. There's this so I made this like elaborate schedule for me and all of my kids of the wake up time and the time that we would have our family meditations and our family walks, and it's like pretty detailed, like down to the hour. The schedule was fantastic. I don't think we've stuck to it even one single time. Like, sort of, it's been more like a suggestion. Um, and so I don't know, I feel like there's a shift happening that's kind of exhausting us, that we are transitioning. We have lost this. First of all, the thing that I think is fascinating is we don't have anyone really mirroring, except for on a screen, nobody's mirroring back to us the good parts of ourselves. And we have our show face, right? Like we get dressed up and we have our sparkly 10% of us that shows up when we work and when we have our interactions with people. And when that part of us doesn't get to show up and we instead get to experience ourselves, either only ourselves, if we're alone, if we're quarantined alone, or just ourselves in our relationships, like probably not our best top 10%, probably our lowest 20%, like our impatient parts and the parts that are undisciplined and lazy. And it takes a toll on us, and there's a kind of an adjustment period to figuring out what the authentic part of us really is underneath all that, because we're not our best, like we're not. That's kind of this thing that I keep thinking is, I'm not who I am on my best sparkly days. That's not really me. And I'm not really the person that has no patience with my kids either. That's not really me either. So what is the authentic me, and how do I connect with that? And how do I try to keep them? I mean, ideally, we would just kind of, I don't know where I'm going with this. I just feel like it's kind of a profound idea that there's an authentic part of us that is there and kind of observing basically us in all of these places. And there's an opportunity to experience that authentic self or completely numb out and ignore it completely. And
I just
so,
want to be reminded of the things that I already know that I
yeah.
need a push to like implement. So
Hmm.
the environment, there's no, I feel like I don't have control. I'm sure we all feel like we don't have control. We don't know when the curve of coronavirus is flattening. We don't know when we're going to be able to get tested. We don't know when our kids are going to go back to school. I don't know if I have a job 2 months from now because their
Yeah.
bands aren't touring. We don't have that control over anything. And you know, it's a weird time to walk down the sidewalk with a mask on and you have to go like this with your neighbors on your morning walk with the dog. It's just a total lack of control, and it's creating this like consistent level of anxiety and stress. So like, how do I manage that? The same stuff I already know, like eating well, getting some exercise, reminding myself to be grateful for what I have in the mornings to like set my brain. But forget to do it because it's like a marathon. Like I do it some days and then I can't, it's like there's no routine and the structure is gone. And we think every morning is Sunday morning. We wake up, the sun's coming through the windows and we're like, oh, we could just snuggle for 20 more minutes if we felt like it. You don't have, like, you just don't, there's nothing pushing you at 6 a.m. to like get out of the bed like there normally is. So like
So why do
that
you do it?
creates a whole thing.
Yeah.
Why do I get out of bed?
No, so what is it that, how can we connect to that part of ourselves that does move forward? Because we want it. I bet there's no one listening that is not yearning to be more disciplined, to drink and eat less, to create structure, even if you don't have to have it, to have self-induced structure so that we're continuing to develop parts of ourselves that we've always, like, if we all had a magic fairy come down 2 months ago, what I would have said, I want more time. I want more time with my family, and I want more time to devote to developing talents and
Right.
there, specific things. And so here we have it. And what a tragedy it would be if this ends and we haven't done anything really significant with it.
Yeah.
So what is
And
the objective? So I'm kind of
regret's a
torn.
no good emotion,
What?
right? Regret
No.
isn't a regret's just a no good emotion. And I have a mentor and slash friend, kind of like you and me are,
Yeah.
and you are to me, who once said to me, I worked with him, who once said, you know, procrastination is about like, how do we not procrastinate and not feel the guilt and the regret of putting the thing off? He said, attach yourself to the feeling that the positive emotion at the end of getting the thing done, like the self-esteem boost that you get because you're like, oh, I did that and I did it on time and I met my deadline, and that's a good feeling. And so when I'm getting out of bed, I still do it. I do it all the time about everything. It's like, oh, if I get out of bed and I get everything going and I exercise, do the virtual workout with my husband in the living room, I'm going to feel good by 8:30 a.m. when I'm about to get on the Zoom with Stin to do the podcast. And sure enough, I frame like that positive emotion set me into a movement that here I am and I feel better than if I had just wallowed and not motivated. I think it's hard for everyone though right now. Like it's the fear of being late for work. Like you don't want to be late for work. It sets a bad example for your subordinates, or it's like it's not, it's being late's bad. And so the fear of that drives us to be disciplined, right?
Right.
It's probably not a good place. You want to attach yourself to the positive emotion, which is being there on time makes you feel good. That's a thing for me.
Yeah. Oh gosh, there's so many thoughts I'm having right now. First, I'm going to share one thing. I think it's really, really important, and we've talked about this. When you wake up, because we're human beings, our brains are made to look for danger, like they are, because our older part of our caveman brain part had to look out for tigers in order to survive, and that brain is within us, and we continue looking for danger. And so the most natural thing for all humans to do is to wake up, pick up the phone and say, how many people are dying? How dangerous is it? How many, I mean, because there's that, like, we have to kind of trigger or like tickle that part of our amygdala that says, where's the danger? Where's the danger? And when we wake up and we look immediately for the danger, and it kind of all goes back to the amygdala. And I talk about this a lot, but the amygdala is that part of our brain that is in charge of keeping us safe. The problem with activating the amygdala, and I think stress activates it, but we're not having as much stress per se, but our amygdala, when it is activated, it's great at keeping us alive, and it sucks at helping us have good relationships with people. It is terrible at keeping our immune system strong, because our immune system is, I mean, the last thing the body wants if there's a tiger chasing you is to be able to digest food, to be able to fight long-term illness and degenerative disease. It is not a priority at all to create harmony in relationships or have higher think out of the box skills or
It's triaging. The
intuition,
brain is triaging like surviving the
total
tiger attack. So it
triage.
puts all the resources on that moment, therefore sacrificing the other parts that
Yeah.
are suffering longer term.
Yeah, and so think about what happens to our relationships when that we our memory gets bad. Like I always know that my amygdala is activated when Scott and I get into like an argument and we fight about the details. Like, no, yesterday you said this. And like and the details, you can't remember details when your amygdala is activated. So your details are going to be really, and Scott's like super detail, like FBI agent detail, and I'm like broad spectrum, whatever. Oh my gosh, it's just, there is no harmony there. It is all about survival, and it is the worst place to be. And so if we could just add one thing at the end of all of this, it would be this thing that I started doing, which was I'm not allowed to even touch my phone until I've done one or two basic things. And for me, that's, you know, that's going to be different for everyone. But for me, it's a prayer, and it's a meditative state of just meditating, and not really like a big woo woo meditation, but feeling grateful and feeling kind of like just kind of focusing on getting my energy here instead of out there, right? Like all these chakra exercises, which I'm going to put on my website because I think that it's so important right now to just get our energy right. But there's something, our bodies have energy and they get all putting out here, and out there is, if you are letting anything outside of yourself define your worth or your value or even your happiness, you're totally hosed, and you're going to be stuck. You're going to be just thrown to and fro instead of letting this and your proactive choices determine how you're going to feel throughout the day.
That is a constant struggle for me. It doesn't come as easy.
It
Like
doesn't come,
all
and
I can
it
control.
doesn't, if your brain works properly, it's not going to be easy. It's not easy. It's almost like it's the opposite, right? Because we should be looking for danger a little bit more aggressively. And that's what our brains are designed to do. And so to take care of those higher levels is, I think it is harder. And that's, the rewards are there. And it's the process of going through that difficult resistance to get centered, and to just even 5 minutes to make better choices. That's why I think gratitude is a great thing, because the energy, or the whatever happens when you just are in gratitude, even just to wake up and go, thank you that I don't have to hop up, like just even at that, like a thank you, or I love this, or something good. Think about 5 good things. There's been so much research, and we can share some of those links below, on
Yeah.
the benefits of gratitude in the morning. And then I'm going to tell you something else, unless you have a comment link. Any
I have
thoughts
so
on that?
many, but I'm not gonna. I have so many. I just, I think that's a good little life hack. That's like a trick, and I don't do it very well. Is
Yeah,
I'll charge the phone in the kitchen instead of on the nightstand
yeah,
tonight, which I don't normally do. Furthermore, I read a study about phone radiation from Scandinavia, where they had Nokia phones before the rest of us had phones. I mean, they got them first,
yeah.
and that thing is pinging on a regular basis all night long if you don't turn it off. And that radiation does have an impact on your chakras. But if it's close to you, it also has an impact on your eyes, which are very sensitive tissue, fragile tissue. So anyway, I think it's probably a good idea to keep it in the kitchen, and then I'll do my gratitude thinking before I get out of bed and frame my brain before I look at the thing, and it triggers my amygdala.
That's awesome. Do you know what I
Yeah.
finally had to do? Is I had to put my phone, I keep my phone now upstairs most of the time with the ringer on high. So if somebody needs to call me, they can. But I was constantly just being like distracted. Every time I try to start a project or start something good, I'd even pick up my phone to use as a resource, and I would get interrupted 6 or 7 times from even just reading. Like I'd want to read an article on my phone. So I don't do it anymore. Like I leave my phone for the most part upstairs with my ringer on high, and then just make it so that it's uncomfortable to go get it. And I'm trying to use my computer more, so that if I am going to do research, I can use my computer. I don't have to use my phone. Like just that that kind of keeping it,
Yeah.
having to pause and making it more difficult to get to it, I think is important. This is what
Yep.
Mackenzie does. Mackenzie's my overachiever. Lincoln, you know her. She went to Stanford. She's like super, super, does
When I
great
lived with you, when I had that breakup,
things.
she was out on the front porch plowing through Harry Potter, and I was like, how old is she? She's like 6 or 7. And she's like, these
She's,
books this big, but I like,
I
I know it's
know.
Harry Potter, but she was young for the, I mean, anyway,
No, I'm like, we're all just all very uneducated
and then
compared
after
to
college, as an adult, she
Mackenzie.
lived with my family studying to take the GMAT, I think. And she was
Yeah.
just like, anyway, she is an overachiever. I'll agree with you
She's a
in a good way.
overachiever. So I'm like, what are you doing, Ken's? Because Ken's is like, every time I call her, she's like, I'm really busy right now. I'll call you back. I'm like, what? You're not even busy. What are you doing? You have no life. And she showed me on her calendar. It's so great. She has like these little, so she has this calendar, and this is so bad. I'm not even a drawer, but she's like, there are 5 things that I have to do every day. And I really like checking them off. And so she has these little things. She's like 20 minutes of watercolor. She's not an artist. She's not really good. Ken, if you're listening to me, I love you. Heart. But you're getting better. Like she
Yeah.
drew raspberries and they actually kind of looked good. 20 minutes, she bought a little watercolor set. And she said for her, it just makes her happy. Like there's something that just connects with something that nobody else will see. There's power in that. Like you don't need an external source to tell you what to be happy or to feel good about yourself. But for her to just spend 20 minutes a day doing watercolor, and she's done it. And she puts a little check next to everything on her calendar when she's done it. And she said every time she walks past it, she gets anxious that she hasn't checked it. Like there's the overachiever, but dang, it's amazing because she's doing it. She'll put a check next to it. This is working out. She'll do some sort of like 20 minutes of something to get her body working out. And then this is like a little music sign because she does 20 minutes of either guitar or singing, and she's getting better. Like freak, man, it's not even fair. And then what else does she do? She does, practices Spanish for 20 minutes. So she just has 5 20-minute things. There's another thing. She goes outside.
So Stin,
Outside.
if I'm listening to this and I
Yeah.
feel bad about myself and all I can do is control how I react to things that are external, and I'm
I
starting
feel
to
bad
feel
about myself.
guilty.
Yeah,
Right. I'm starting to feel guilty that I'm not Mackenzie and I'm not that
me too.
organized.
Yeah,
So like I think everybody's feeling that way. It's like,
I feel that way. And she's doing it. So this is like, but what's
how
important
do I turn that
is,
feeling around so that I can get stuff done that I is going to
I'll
feel
tell
good for
you
me?
I asked her, I said, why are you doing these things? Aren't you a good enough person already? Like, why are you doing it? Are these the things that make you feel better about yourself? And she's like, no, not really. But I was trying to think of the things that I can do on my own that don't depend on anyone else, that bring me happiness, like that kind of lasts for more than 5 minutes. Because they've done so much research on the shelf life of happiness, right? Like when we watch a Netflix show, it makes you happy while you watch the Netflix show, right? But then once you turn off the show, your happiness actually dips dramatically back to your starting point, sometimes even lower, depending on what has been happening. But when you do one of these activities, or when you serve other people, that's another one. She didn't talk about that, but all this happiness research has kind of come out, right? As there's been this trend over the last decade. But when you do things like this, you have happiness while you do it, but the happiness has a way longer shelf life when you stop doing it. So even if you've done, and just knowing that research can kind of help you when you have 20 minutes, you have a choice. You can watch a show, you can just get lost on reading, like how many stupid dig articles did I get lost in, like trying to see what so and so looks like because she's lost all this weight. Like there's just so many stupid things I've done that I'm like, why? Who am I? How did this work for me? How did they actually suck me? I'm far too smart for this. And I'm like totally imagine like clicking the wrong links because then it's sending me to some insurance ad. But to just remember, I have a choice right now, like right now. And it doesn't matter what you did yesterday. It doesn't matter what you did an hour ago. It doesn't matter what you did 5 minutes ago. Right now, there is something that you and I can do that will help us have peace now and happiness later.
Can I tell you
And
what I've
just
been doing?
Yeah, yeah,
We
tell me.
touched on it.
Okay, yeah.
I did yesterday, and we're within 5 minutes because I'm the time police when it
Oh
comes
gosh,
to.
okay.
Yeah, I've been.
Good. Thank you.
So,
Please.
think that that's good to be disciplined and not hijack
Yeah,
people, so people know
thank
what
you.
to expect.
Mm-hmm.
I okay. Long story short, my husband has a real estate agency, and all of his agents are without as much work as they had before. His
Mm-hmm.
business partner, her sister, worked for Oprah Winfrey as a personal assistant for 10 years, and then another 10 years as chief of staff. And they invited her on a Zoom like this to talk to the real estate agents that work with Jason and Maureen.
Yeah,
And really, really, she calls it Fisher Price concepts because they're the concepts we all know that even a 3 or a 5-year-old can digest. It's the
right.
same, it's nothing, it's no magic thing that you haven't heard before. And one of them was, when you wake up in the morning, think about what you're grateful for and frame your brain. What you think is what you become. That becomes your life. How you think becomes what is.
This sounds so
And the other,
self-helpy. I hate to even hear it, but it's so freaking true. Okay, keep going.
it's so true. The other thing she said, which I wasn't doing, and now I'm
Yeah.
doing both those things, is to be of service, because I have this altruistic push and pull. Like, she talked about the brain chemistry and how it changed when we are of service and we feel like we're being helpful to somebody else. And if
Mm-hmm.
my motivation is to change, to make myself better and to be happier, I sort of have like this altruistic crisis. Like, I should just do it because I care and I love that person. I want to, but I'm doing it for a benefit to myself also. And it's this weird rub that I have in my brain. But
Yeah.
I started to think of all the people who are, I don't want to be an 80-year-old living alone guy who doesn't maybe understand technology the way people who came after him understand it, not be connecting. So I just started to pick up the phone every day around 6 p.m. when I used to be house partying during happy hour with my glass of wine with 8 people, friends from around the country. And I just pick up the phone and I call my older friends who are living alone in homes and apartments, and it must be totally isolating. This 6 weeks of this now, and sure enough, like, I started to call Jason's great uncle Earl, and he looks forward to it when I call him. And and it just has changed how it's given me just a little bit extra, like, that's whatever I want to think that is good karma. What goes around comes around. Or if I'm just bringing light into somebody's life, that they're being so stoic. I'm not a stoic person necessarily. You'll know if my room is dark and you should be calling me, because I'll be texting you, where the hell, where are you, friend? I'm depressed. But not everybody's that. A lot of people are stoic
No.
and tough and try to look tough. And
Yeah,
so I think that that has really helped me, which
I love
sounds
that.
bad.
And you know you're doing service when you're not tied to how they respond. I remember one time feeling like super altruistic and making cookies for my neighbor that has just had babies. And I was like, oh, I'm being look at, and I loved like the thought of myself that I was making these cookies and how generous I was being and like just, oh, I'm so nice. And then I took them over and she's like, she's like, oh yeah, I can't eat nuts, and like turn them back in. And I remember just go like having this a total understanding of, first of all, like, shut up. Like, I just did this nice thing, like it being so annoying. And I realized I'm serving her so that I feel better about myself, not truly just to serve her. And there is a difference. And so I had to kind of change. And I was like, if I'm here to just serve her, I'm going back home and making her cookies when I can that don't have nuts, or just finding out what it is that she needs. This isn't about me. This is about her. And that's the weird irony,
Is it
right? Is the
okay if it's
greatest
about me
piece.
a little bit? Like, is it okay if it's about me? Because I'm trying not to get depressed. And this
Yeah,
is one way to help
I think
somebody
it
and help
is.
myself.
I think it is, as long as we don't tie other people into making sure that they respond a certain way, because then we're setting ourselves up for
Sure.
lots of really other things that we can talk about later that I would talk about, like controlling, like as long as we don't expect other people to ever provide us, make sure that we feel good.
Sure.
We don't put that responsibility on anyone else, any event, any circumstance, any reaction,
Sure.
nothing. That is the quickest way to have a quick and hasty depression slash discouraged moment. So yeah, if I, as we go along, I would love to just talk about how life gives us opportunities to always change and grow and to reveal ourselves to ourselves, like, and start to notice the things that we are the way that we give away our power by making other people or circumstances kind of responsible for our happiness. And the great news is if our thoughts have the ability to, if it's the way we think about things that make us depressed, we can also change the way we think about them and feel a lot more peace. Yeah. So what are we talking about next time, Lincoln?
We're
Oscar
going to talk
Schweineman.
about lack of control, I think is kind of a theme. And one of
Yeah.
the things that I think that we wanted to touch on was relationships during lockdown, because my thought was day-to-day life is a little bit like a long distance relationship compacted. So the first couple of
Yeah.
years I met
Yeah.
Jason, I lived on the East Coast, he lived on the West Coast. Before that, I lived in Portland, he lived in Seattle. And we look forward to the weekend, to a week and a half from now, when we would see each other on the weekend. And then you're your best self for 48 hours and you have fun
All
together
right.
and you do
It's
adventures and you
sparkly.
pack stuff into 2 days and
Uh-huh.
sparkly. And then you go back to your life and then you get to see them again. Every day is kind of like that. You hang out in the evening, everybody sleeps, you wake up, you have some morning time, and everybody goes their separate directions. And then you're not dealing with each other necessarily all day long. Maybe you text each other. And then in the evening you come together and you debrief your day, and it feels good in a way, or at least in hindsight it looks like that. Maybe I didn't think that at the time, but now in this house 24/7 with the same people who we've been together 16 years, pushing all of our same buttons with each other, it feels like we're in like a pressure, like pressure's coming in, and we have both been really good about being thoughtful about like how we want to communicate with each other today.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to discuss
And
cabin fever and the people that we live with annoying the crap out of us. Is that our next topic? Yes, it is.
yes, it
And there
is.
you have it. So our takeaways today are: put your freaking phone far away so that it's not easy. Stop looking to your phone to see whether you need to be afraid or not. Like, you always need to be afraid, always. But then it's just let it go. Like, you can't control it anyway. So why not? Do small and simple things. Do this. Think of 20-minute things that you don't need anyone else or anything else, that has nothing to do with Netflix. Please, just for you. And it's not to make yourself a better person. It's, you'll never be more wonderful or worthy or incredible than you are right now. Even if you make $1 billion and you know exactly when Corona is going to end and you know you have a job, you will never, those things aren't ever going to determine your value or worth as a person. But these things will help you create and generate happiness and peace within, will have a longer shelf life. What else? Is there anything else we need to recap that we covered today?
I think it's good. I think that it's comforting for me to know that collectively we're all figuring out like this lack of structure and feeling out of control together.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
rearranged my closet to get control.
You know what? And we can do that. It's a good place to start. Like,
It is.
just, and don't even start with your house, please. Don't do that. This is what I do when I need to feel like I'm in control. I turn on a timer for 3 minutes and I throw away as many things as I can. And then I feel in control. I
That's
just feel
funny.
like I brought order to the chaos, and it's symbolic for me and it helps my mind. Okay. So there you
Okay.
go. You may be a better person or a worse person after listening to this show, but we're just happy to be
Thanks for
making it.
joining us,
We
and
like
we
you. We
will
like each
see
other.
you in
Next
episode
time.
2 of Stin and Lincoln, Lincoln and Stin.
Okay,
Working
bye.
title.
Yeah.
Goodbye. Hang up on me. I don't know how.
I don't know how
Okay,
either. Okay, ready, set,
bye.
go. Bye.